How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian. And it's Thursday here on the show. You know what that means? Well, first off, I'm back. A bunch of things I had to do yesterday for my knee. Still working on it today, but I'm here. I am here today. And I'll be back later on tonight with Vinny as well. I'm hurting, but we're going to do our best here. So, what do we got to talk about here today? Well, a lot of news. Yesterday was AEW Dynamite. What'd you think of the show? Send your feedback, 425-780-7566. We'll talk about the entire show, plus the big angle, which was a weird angle, but it does set up two matches for the upcoming, whatever the show's called. But we've got Jon Moxley. He will be facing Darby Allin with the AEW World title on the line, the title shot. And Bryan Danielson will not be defending the title. He will be facing Nigel McGuinness. And they did it, but it was a little weird. Could have done a better job explaining it, but we'll talk about that here today. So two big matches for Grand Slam. Is what it's called. Grand Slam. And it'll be actually quite interesting to see how tickets move after they announce these matches here. Because, you know, they had promised a world title match at Grand Slam, and they're not doing it. So I don't know if I'd fully call it bait and switch, but it is actually bait and switch. There's not going to be a title match on that show. But we'll see how the ticket sales go for the other two big matches. Perhaps fans see those matches as bigger than the Darby Allin, Bryan Danielson title match. Let's talk about the AEW television deal, what we know thus far. Mark Shapiro of TKO talked about cutting down house shows, Raw ratings from Monday night, as well as NXT, which did a miracle number. A miracle number. And in the final segment of the show, we got a special guest here today, MLW's Mr. Thomas, formerly Blaster McMassive. I can't wait. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. You guys ever get hurt?
A few times.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if I'm the only one like this, but when I hurt myself on Friday, I mean, it hurt so bad. Like, I couldn't stand. I could not stand. I could not put any weight on my leg. It was excruciating pain.
Yeah, because you're an old.
And in my head, it was like, man, I'm screwed, dude. It's just destroyed. God, it's killing me.
Shredded.
I just got to like do whatever I can do. But like today, it's been 6 days. I've done all sorts of wacky stuff. Ice, lasers.
Yeah, space lasers.
Space lasers, red light therapy, chiropractic, the witch doctor, the whole 9 yards. I've done it all.
Now, what does the chiropractor have to do with your knee?
Hey, I mean, he did something. I don't know. But
What
the
about
point
the
is,
massage therapist.
the point is, here I am. It's 6 days later, and I can almost walk without limping. Okay, I can almost walk without limping. I still have a little bit of a limp because it's still a little bit tight and a little bit swollen, and it's still. But here's the point of all of this. On a scale of 1 to 10. Pain-wise, on Friday, it was a 10, okay? Maybe like a 15. Today, I mean, like sitting here right now, it's like a 0. When I first stand up, it's maybe like a 3. And when I walk, it's probably like a 2, okay? But for some reason, it irritates me so much more at 2 than it did at 10. Am I the only one like that? It's like I can't even think about anything else except like my knee. Whereas when it was at 10, it was just like, well, you know, it's just like I just destroyed it. I mean, what can I do about it?
Yeah,
but now,
you give up.
Now that it's a 2, it's like, why isn't it a 0?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You got to be functional.
It's like having it's like I've never had a migraine, but when you have like a little minor headache, that to me is just like so much more irritating. Because like, God.
Yeah. That lingering thing, it bothers you. You know, if it's a big thing, it's like you just give up and you succumb to it. And
That's
it's like,
basically,
okay.
I'd pretty much given up on Friday.
Yeah.
I was like,
But
I'm
now,
finished. Just
you know
amputate
you
this
have-
thing.
Yeah, but now you know you got to do things, and it's just really one of those pains that won't go away, and you know it's not going to go away anytime soon, and you still need to worry about it, but you still have to function every day, and it screws up your day. So yeah, either be done with it or make it hurt all the way. All or nothing.
Well, I could be irritated here today, so if I am, I apologize, everybody. I don't have a lot to be irritated about.
Yeah,
I mean, I will say that I felt that NXT was a big improvement this week. It wasn't perfect, but they did have a lot of graphics, and oftentimes when they didn't have graphics, they at least smartened up and had people say each other's names, okay? The only real victim was Lola Vice, who at no point during the show had her name said or put on the screen. So anybody watching the show for the first time was like, who's that lady? No clue. But they did a better job than usual. I did not hate the show. Jared, you can put up Bryan Alvarez does not hate NXT this week. So we'll talk more about that later on tonight.
I think John's in.
And, oh yeah, sorry. And then the other thing was AEW last night I thought was a pretty good show.
Really?
I didn't hate the storyline, but it's one of those things where, like, how does this happen? How does this happen? So, I had figured, here's what I figured, everybody, and I keep telling people this, and I know, like, Tony's really paranoid, and he always thinks there's leaks and everything like that. I have no inside information. I just have been watching AEW for, like, 5 years, and I think that I can see what's happening and figure out what's going on in this bloke's brain, okay? When Moxley said he just wanted to talk to Darby, I was figuring he wants Darby's title shot. Now, at the time, I didn't understand why he didn't just ask Danielson. Well, it turns out he killed Danielson, okay? So and then that's when I figured, okay, I think he really does just want this title shot. So he goes to Darby, and he says, listen, you are supposed to defend the title at this upcoming show, Grand Slam. You're supposed to defend this title at Grand. It only had 3 major shows in the last 4 weeks, so I'm sorry.
The ticket buying public is forgetting about it too right now.
I know you're supposed to defend the title against Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam, but Danielson is indisposed. He can't wrestle. So therefore, I want you to just give the title shot to me. Darby says, I'm going to give the title shot to you. They agree to wrestle with the title shot on the line at Grand Slam. Okay? Because Bryan Danielson can't wrestle.
Makes sense. Okay, fine.
So then, like 15 minutes later, Nigel shows up and he says he wants to talk to Tony Khan. And so then he comes out a half hour later and he says, well, looks like Bryan Danielson doesn't have a match at Grand Slam, but I think that the champion should defend. At least have a match. He didn't say defend. It's a non-title match. So he says, I want Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam. And then 10 minutes later, the Tony Khan character makes the match official. This doesn't make any sense. Now, before everyone tries to defend this, okay? Before anyone tries to defend this.
Where's Lenny?
Here's the thing. Yeah, Lenny ain't here for some reason. Here's the thing. Let's just talk about this in storyline, okay? In storyline, the promoter Tony Khan has booked a World Heavyweight Championship match for Grand Slam. He booked it. He did a match, a guy won a title shot, and Tony Khan, the booker, sold tickets and promoted a championship match at All Out, or at Grand Slam, okay? That's what happened in storyline. So then, let's just pretend that, Moxley just, he lied to Darby. He just goes, Bryan's indisposed. I want a match with you with the title on the line. Well, where is Tony Khan to just say, no? If Bryan Danielson is good to go, he's defending the title against Darby. He didn't do that. He did
not use Tony Schiavone, which he has done before, to interrupt that.
Nope, nothing. He just was like, okay, well, whatever. You guys want to fight for the championship match? I won't have a title match on the show that I booked and sold tickets for. And then later, Nigel goes in his office and he goes, hey, can I just wrestle Bryan in a non-title match? And promoter Tony Khan in storyline goes, okay. This makes no sense. There's no way to make sense of this. Now, At the end of the day, we're getting Bryan Danielson, Nigel McGuinness.
That's cool.
Yeah, sure, great. And, we're getting Moxley and Darby for the title.
On free TV.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing. I don't like to do hindsight's 2020, but I did say this literally the day of the show when I was live tweeting for my subscribers on X. Why didn't Nigel just win the championship match when he made his big return at Wembley? The place would have gone absolutely haywire. They went haywire that he showed up. They would have gone beyond haywire if he would have won. And then you just have Nigel and Danielson for the title at Grand Slam. And then, Darby can win a number. He has like 18 title shots. Moxley can say, I want one of your title shots. No, you can't have it. But you know what? We can fight for it at Grand Slam. The winner gets the winner of Danielson and Nigel. I mean, this writes itself. Instead, Christian ends up winning it, who is a cold character right now. I mean, is anyone excited for Christian to, fight for the title? I mean, it's a cold character right now, and there's a million other ways he could have, finagled his way into a championship match. So I don't understand why they did it this way, and it didn't come off right on TV. But hey, we're getting two good matches, so, I mean, there's that.
Yeah,
I always like to look on the bright side,
Hey, silver lining and everything. I like Christian, and I think the match with Bryan Danielson is going to be great. I'm glad that Nigel gets to pay off his over-the-top heel announcer shtick, which has been too much sometimes, especially when it comes to Bryan Danielson. We get to see that match. Hey, maybe we get a Samoa Joe return and make it a big ROH moment, and that's how we get Nigel away from Bryan Danielson for a little bit. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know when it comes to the title picture, what you laid out would have made a lot more sense.
Back in a moment with more Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com.
Old man radio during the breaks.
God, brutal. Well, Dave had an update on the TV deal, which I guess was basically the same thing we've been talking about for a while. Although he did say, flat out,
it's done.
He says the WBD deal is done. And I think that's true.
But the announcement is still
imminent. Here's the thing. I heard over the weekend that the deal was done. Like he signed the deal, okay? And so I thought after the pay-per-view, he was going to make the announcement during the press conference. So during the press conference, he did not make the announcement. And in fact, he said it wasn't signed. And I thought, okay, well, like in this case, I don't want to doubt Tony Khan because he's the guy that signs it. And you would think if he did sign it, he'd be happy to announce it. So it's kind of weird when, he said he hadn't signed it yet, but I heard he had signed it. So what makes sense, actually, is that he has signed the WBD deal, but he has not signed the rest of the deal, which is believed to be for a fourth show on FS1, which would be Shockwave. So once that deal is done, I think he'll announce everything. So that is my belief based on what he said and semantics, et cetera, et cetera. But I do believe that everything is done with WBD, and they're still working on the Shockwave deal for FS1, and then at that point they'll announce it. So what's the deal? I don't know. But the number I kept hearing, and everyone, listen guys, I don't know, okay? The number I have heard multiple times from multiple people is it's probably going to be double, okay? Then the obvious question is, double what? I don't know, okay? I don't know double what. And every time I ask, nobody knows. So I don't know if it's double their original deal, double their re-signed deal, double the deal they have that their extension. I don't know double what, okay? But double, all right? Which is great, double. But I think that what it's going to be is the double is going to include Shockwave. So I think that the actual WBD deal may not be double what they've got right now. It will be, somewhat of an increase, and then they'll also have whatever's added on with Shockwave to get them to double. Or it could be WBD's doubled and Shockwave's on top of that. One way or the other, they're going to be making a lot of money. They will be having a fourth show. Now, it wouldn't be my, I wouldn't. It's not my favorite, but you take the money because we're running a business here. So at some point soon, I expect all of this to be made official. But that's where I think that we're at right now. And as far as people keep asking about the pay-per-views, all right? I have said this before. It has been argued vociferously by listeners.
Knuckleheads? Good.
I won't say knuckleheads, but the point is, what I've heard has come from WBD, so I don't care what you think, okay? If you think you've got a solution, then go get hired at WBD and fix it. They aren't ready for a pay-per-view component on Max yet. But Brian, I didn't say live sports. I said a pay-per-view component, okay? They aren't ready for a pay-per-view component yet. They're still working on it. I do believe that the pay-per-views are going to end up on Max. Maybe not immediately. It's actually, I hadn't thought about this at the time, but now that I think about it. So, Tony was on the show a while ago. And, with Dave and I. And I asked him, and this was like the greatest moment of my and Tony's career. I said, I know you're not going to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is the fact that you have announced a bunch of different ways to watch the pay-per-views, YouTube, Triller, etc., is that an indication that there is no pay-per-view component being worked on for this new deal? And incredibly, he goes, I actually will answer that. And what he said was, this has nothing to do with that. This is a separate thing, et cetera, et cetera. So now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, they may have made all these pay-per-views available on various platforms, not because there won't be a pay-per-view component, but because there's no guarantee that when they announce a deal, the pay-per-view component will be ready. But I do believe that they are going to end up on Max, but I don't think people should get their hopes up that it will be announced immediately upon announcing the signing of this new deal. So that's where I'm at this point.
I'm going to even pull it deeper into the weeds there. There may be both, because you got WBD is still reliant on their cable channels. They are still reliant on cable companies, and the owner of payperview.com is a group of cable operators. And I think to take that away from them, it's going to be one of those things. Like, optically, it's going to be interesting if they do give AEW a ton of money, and that comes out through the Hollywood Reporter and all that, because WBD has people that are looking at it that can't wait for news to come out to knife them with, because they hate the way the place is being run, and they, for this, that, and a third when it comes to it. So it's going to be interesting if that number actually comes out and we actually find out what it is. But when it comes to the pay-per-views, maybe that's why it would be doubled, is because, you can get it through us, or we're going to have your whole library is going to be available on Max or something like that. But I don't know. Bottom line is, when it comes to a Fox deal for FS1, that's a blessing and a curse. They do need to have their hands in other cookie jars looking for people that want their content. So for them to branch out, that's actually a good thing, especially if they get paid a bunch of money. The problem with FS1 is, when are you going to be on that's consistent and that you don't get bumped all the time? Yes, you are going to be parts of packages, and I know that might be part of the reason why. I don't know. But that big ESPN package that they're doing, I don't know. Maybe that helps out there. True Sports, or whatever, TBS Sports, whatever the new sports network of Turner is going to be called, TNT Sports, maybe that show could end up there. I don't know. But I do know that if they go somewhere else, that's a good thing, especially if they get paid, but they don't need another hour of programming, especially not one that's going to be knocked around a bunch of times and may only do Rampage ratings. I don't know if that's worth it and is going to be worth whatever money they get paid for it.
Person here says, any word on Ring of Honor in any of this talk? Shockwave could be Ring of Honor. No? Well, here's the thing. I'm not saying there will be no Ring of Honor component, because I do not know. But I do know I have heard zilch. Not one word about Ring of Honor in anything I've heard about the new television deal. Now, Shockwave. Could it be Ring of Honor? Well, sure, it could be anything. Could be FLM. You can do whatever you want. But here's the thing.
Not Pride Fighting Championships.
Okay, Fox lost SmackDown. Okay?
It's not going on Fox.
I know it's not going. I know it's not going on Fox. Let me get to the point.
Not everybody realizes.
Let me get to the point.
Stupid. They believe that it may end up on Fox.
It's not going to be on Fox. But listen, they lost SmackDown. WWE SmackDown. Okay, they are now
didn't want it.
They are now negotiating. Well, I think they wanted it, but it didn't do quite well enough.
No, they didn't. Not for the money they were paying.
That's the
Remember,
point.
that whole thing came down to having a 1.0 and 18.
I know it didn't do as well as they wanted, but if it would have done a little better, they'd have kept it because it did
great numbers. It was the number one show on TV that got beaten in everybody's head over the week. So no, if they wanted it, they could have kept it. Remember, that's where he was talking about that. 1.3, 1.4.
Well, hold on. Let me get to this point. The point is, okay, they had WWE SmackDown. They don't have it anymore. They're negotiating with AEW. They're willing to put an AEW show on FS1. They're not paying for Ring of Honor. Like, if push came to shove, do you think they would say, we'll pay you $50 million for an AEW branded show. We'll also pay you $50 million for a Ring of Honor branded show. No chance, okay? No chance. Like, AEW is the more valuable brand name. When you're negotiating with television stations, you can either say, hey, we'll give you an AEW branded show that's number 1, number 2, number 3 on cable among all television entertainment shows on a normal week. Well, but it's always behind Raw, but 2, 3, whatever. We can give you that, or we can give you Ring of Honor, which we got 10,000 subscribers on Honor Club, and who knows how many people actually watch it every week. It's not going to be Ring of Honor. Okay, I can't even fathom that.
Ring of Honor should be a fast channel. That's what Tony should want out of WBD and out of the cable companies, is just like YouTube TV's got an all-impact channel because Access and Anthem put that out there. Like, do that with Ring of Honor. Try to increase its visibility that way. Put old shows on there. Put people on there that are timely to your AEW and ROH programming now. Actually put new content up there, which is not done, at least here in the States, when it comes to what Anthem does with that Impact channel. But put things on there where you're hyping Honor Club, you're hyping the pay-per-views, you're doing that sort of thing. That is, to me, the most effective thing to have Ring of Honor. Putting it on a channel where nobody ends up watching it because it's on FS2 at 2:30 in the morning or something like that, to me, that's not going to benefit you whatsoever.
Well, it will if you just put on a bunch of AEW dark matches and cash your check. I mean, that's the... And then this guy goes, there's no way AEW content would work on network TV. It would be fine. It would be fine. Are you going to have as much blood and guts as you get on cable? No. Is it going to completely crash and burn? No. NXT is going to network television, okay? We're 3 weeks away from NXT on network television.
And guess what? That could have been Tony Khan's. If those, all that talk was true about him putting Ring of Honor or looking to put programming on CW and then that not happening because of loyalty to WBD. CBS won't touch it. NBC's got what they got. Fox doesn't want it. ABC, they're in bed with WWE. You missed your shot.
Back in a moment with Mr. Thomas, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Very happy today to be joined by MLW's own Mr. Thomas.
Hey, first time, long time. Mike and Bryan, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, very happy to have you here on the show. You know, I remember Mr. Thomas from back in the day under a different moniker.
A little more hair, a little more face paint once upon a time.
Yes. Blaster McMassive.
What a time to be alive. Absolutely.
So, yes, I remember you and Max Smashmasters have been on the show many times. And I just remember, this was the greatest name of a team I'd ever heard of. Max Smashmaster and Blaster McMassive. You guys tore your way through Chikara, I'm sure a lot of other places as well. And I do want to start off just quickly today by asking how Max is doing, because he retired.
He's retired somewhere, but he's doing good. He's up there in Massachusetts doing stuff. He's got his little Rad Pro Wrestling. They're running a show in Amesbury, Massachusetts on Saturday, October 19th. Check it out. I believe he's still active. I think he's under a spell, some tiny woman in a walker. But if you like more character-driven professional wrestling, please check out Rad Pro Wrestling. You won't regret it.
I'll need to get him back here then. Yes.
Do you ever miss Sidney Bacabella?
Every day. I feel like he texts me on Thanksgiving asking for money once a year, but I just ignore that and keep it moving.
Well, it is his birthday.
Indeed.
Now, listen. There's certainly nothing wrong with the Mr. Thomas name, and if you watch, your role in MLW, it is actually an excellent name for the character. But why did you drop Blaster McMassive?
Everybody evolves, no pun intended. It was just time to drop the face paint, and I didn't want to do that gimmick without my guys, without Mr. Max Smashmaster himself. So the Devastation Corporation was put to the side, and Mr. Thomas had to, step up and do the right things. Got to get that paycheck, brother.
Now you're around our age, closer to Mike because he's a little older. But are you 51?
No, I'm 38 years old.
38? What the hell?
He was talking to me.
Don't believe everything you see on the internet.
You posted that.
I was trolling.
Oh, my God. I watched that and I thought, my God, look at this man. 51
Bryan
years
Alvarez
old.
reports.
No, I didn't report. He reported. Are you really 38 or is this a gimmick here?
Once upon a time, I was told that I was a little too old to be a main event player in a certain league or federation that it may or may not exist. So I was just trolling the old heads. But I'm out there living La Vida Loca.
Okay, so you are 38.
I'm indeed 38 years old.
Golly. For the last 5 days, I've been wanting to ask you, because I'm old. I'm like, how's this guy doing this? You're doing dives and big bumps and all this stuff. I was like, golly, look at this guy, 51 years old. Holy smokes. Now it turns out it was a work.
No, we're doing the damn thing out here. I'll keep it real with you. It was a shoot.
All right. Wait, it's a shoot?
Well,
are you 51?
No, never. I would never. I'm not that old. Come on, man. I didn't think I'd make it this long. I've been around since 2000. I trained in 2010. I made my debut in 2012. So, yeah, that would make me – I would have been a real late starter.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I thought you were like a really late starter because everyone – I went to I was in London for the live Q&A, and one of the questions was like, aside from DDP, who's the oldest guy that ever got started in this business? And I'm trying to think it's got to be DDP. And then I saw, oh my God, this guy's 51. He's been doing it for 12 years. Holy smokes! I might have a new answer.
I think Damian Priest is our reigning old head right now. It's not that he got off to a late start; it just took him a little longer to get where he needs to be. But he's well over 40 for sure. He's probably closer to 50 than 40. I don't want to put numbers in anybody's mouth, but
I think he's actually early 40s because I think when he signed, he was 39. And I remember because in the old days they never would have signed him at 39. It's just it never would have happened. But they signed him, and he doesn't look 39, and they don't push him like he's 39. So I think probably a lot of people listening to this right now, he's probably 41, 42 right now. They're probably stunned to hear he's that old.
Yeah, well, he's still got hair, and he's handsome, so he covers up a lot.
I think what this proves more than anything, Mr. Thomas, is that if you...
I should lie about my age?
If you hit Filthy Tom Lawler hard enough, it's going to affect one of his other tag team partners. Even though Bryan's not in the WTF, he might as well be.
Listen, my problem with Filthy Tom is when I lay into him, he immediately reminds me he was on UFC 100 and gets me right back. So a great feud we have.
You know, I once had a match where I faced Filthy in a tag match, and we were talking about doing like the kick to the back, and he goes, "If you kick me hard in the back, I'm going to kill you." I was like, "You're Filthy Tom Lawler. What are you complaining about here, dude?" God.
It's always the big tough guys that don't want to get hit hard. That's all right, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he tried to choke me, like we were working a choke spot behind the curtain, and he choked me, and like, you know, I do jiu-jitsu, so like I grabbed and I'm defending because he's trying to choke me, and he goes, "Brother, lighten up. I'm not trying to choke you." I was like, God, I never knew you were so sensitive, Tom.
We're all friends here.
Yeah. So there's a MLW show this weekend, and it's actually, there's some fun matches on this show. It's your Fight Club against the Andersons. Will be
absolutely the Boombayeh Fight Club versus the new addition of the Andersons, which is Brooke Anderson and old CW Anderson. I'm not going to say anything negative about these guys, but they just next to each other, they look like a before and after product that doesn't work. Regardless of that, there's fights. I'll let you run down the card if you'd like.
Yeah, we got Donovan Dijak and Timothy Thatcher, which is a mean guy match. We have got Kenta and TJP against Mystico and Bad Dude Tito. And we'll get him back in a second. But the winners face off in the Opera Cup Finals. And then Kojima will be facing Mads Kruger as well. Let's see if we can get this guy back here.
You know, if they lose to the Andersons, that would be a very bad thing. Not only because Brock Anderson's so young in his career, but also because they have a tag team title match coming up in October as well.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? The fans are trying to stop us from talking.
I see that. Somebody tried to tap the phone line when we were talking about that Opera Cup match right there.
Yeah, quick correction. Bad Dude Tito's going one-on-one with Mystico. I don't know if he said that or if it was a tag match.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're two singles matches and the winners face
singles
off.
Matches, quarterfinals of the tournament. So semifinals matches.
I got it.
Kenta versus TJP, Bad Dude Tito, who is the coolest dude around, versus Mystico. I think that's a dream match anywhere in the world.
That match is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That match is amazing.
Well, I thought it was like one of those CMLL matches where the tag teams square off and then the winning team faces each other and the winner of that. So this is two matches.
Someone's got to look at the lights.
I
need a winner.
I got it. And then Mads Kruger and Kojima for the World Heavyweight Championship.
I'm calling title change. You heard it here first, I promise. I had to work Mads Kruger last week. That dude does not hold back. He's a big, strong, dangerous man.
Wow, so you're calling a title change. How about that?
I'm calling title. Contra don't roll by themselves. They screwed me over a couple weeks ago in New York City. We actually have Contra for the tag titles, not to look too far ahead, but October 4th in St. Petersburg, it is the Boombayeh Fight Club versus Contra for the tag team titles. But I'm not looking past the Andersons just yet. We'll get to Atlanta this weekend.
Oh, yeah. What are you predicting that match with the Andersons? You got a chance?
I'm predicting I'm going to cheat. I know they're going to cheat. I feel like there's going to be interference somewhere. They're going to, I don't know. This kid's a good, his dad was the greatest tag team wrestler ever lived, so I imagine he inherited some stuff. Should be a good competition, but Atlanta's Alex Kane's hometown, so I see us coming out on top.
Have you ever crossed paths with CW Anderson before?
I briefly, real quick, in a Battle Royal about 3 months ago in Atlanta. I saw him for a quick chop in the corner, and I kept it moving.
Now, first off, I do like how you refer to it as a competition while simultaneously announcing that you are going to cheat. That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
You mentioned the Battle Riot, and who would you say is like the person where when you heard that they were in a Battle Riot, or really any match in MLW, you were like, what? This person is on this show?
One of the ICP guys was in the last Battle Riot we had. Not Shaggy Tudo. Violent J, I guess, is the other
Violent
one.
J?
I
really?
Swear.
I do remember he was going to do that, but like he had some health issues, so.
He was there. Jimmy Wang Yang was there. The other half of the American males, it's not Buff Bagwell. Scotty Riggs was there. It was a crazy time. It's the benefits of having a 40-man battle royal in Atlanta. You get some OGs to come by. I heard from a reliable source there might be some surprises this weekend. I hope it's Glacier, but I don't do the booking, so we'll find out together.
What is it like to be walking around a locker room and the first guy you pass is Ricky Shane Page, then you pass Minoru Suzuki, and then Paul Walter Hauser is standing there. It seems like, it's got to be somewhat surreal. It's like actual Chikara characters come to life.
Yeah.
Sometimes work doesn't make sense. In that specific show, we also had Teddy Long and Mark Henry there, so it seemed like the best of the best and sometimes the worst of the worst, depending on who you like and who you don't like. But, it's always an adventure in an MLW locker room. We don't have Microman no more, so that makes me a little bit sad. He's my favorite wrestler of all time, but cheap plug for Microman.
Yeah, I could have a Microman story, but I'll tell it another day. So, did you break in with Chikara? Chikara Wrestle Factory?
I was actually trained by Delirious at Ring of Honor in the Ring of Honor dojo prior to them being acquired by Sinclair. Then I shifted over to Chikara and their Wrestle Factory, where I was given a break to put some face paint on and powerbomb some ants.
So what made you decide to train with the Ring of Honor? Like, were you a big Ring of Honor fan? Was it the school that was most local to you? Why did you choose Ring of Honor?
Most local. A little bit of both. I was at probably the first 10 ROH shows back in 2002 when I was still in high school, back when they had previous owners. And then so the office had always been the little next town over from me. So when it was time to pull the trigger and figure out how to lace up these boots was the first place I went.
Were you a big dude back then too?
I was tall, a little lanky, which kind of caught me heat with one of our shorter, more not as professional wrestler-looking trainers. So I got my ass beat for a little bit for a couple of months before I was allowed to do anything cool. But in the end, I'm still working, and where's he at now, referee? But we won't
man. Well, goes around, comes around in this business, right?
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
So, what did you think when you got in there? I mean...
Oh, brutal. It's still brutal. I was told there's nothing you can do to prep for this, and I still believe that to this day. No matter if you're not in the ring, nothing compares. You're being knocked over in 1 second while also running the ropes 2 seconds later, and don't have a chance to catch your breath, let alone prepare to, brace yourself for what's coming next. So it can be a little overwhelming, and it's definitely not for everybody.
I remember Kenny Omega talked about how he trained, and it was like, he would jog, but in his mind, he would be having a match. And so he would jog, and then, when there was going to be a high spot, he would sprint until the high spot was over in his brain, and then he'd jog again. And, there's that way to try and do it. And I used to do calisthenics and high intensity interval training, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is true that once you get in there, it's like, it's different. It's like, you would have to be doing, some circuit that involves lifting heavy weights, and then you're doing burpees, and then you're sprinting, and then you're jumping. It's like
throw on the flat back bump. Don't.
Yeah, and then fall down in the gym. Yeah, it's weird.
I've always heard a certain very jacked up person who might have been on NXT this week, used to work with MLW. I'm not going to expose anybody, but used to tell me that F45 classes was the closest thing that he could get to a full wrestling training without taking bumps.
Oh, really?
I've utilized that a few times, and I have some of these I live in Tampa, so I've had some of these older Latina mamas running circles around me while I'm over in the corner blowing up trying to catch my breath. But it all works out in the end somehow. But
I went to a cardio kickboxing class in my gym, and I showed up in the morning, and it was all old ladies. And my God, they killed me. I was like, oh my God.
No joke. I went a couple weeks ago, and the lady was like, I know you pay per visit. She was like, you better get your money's worth. She was like, no half-assing. So they were whipping me like anybody else in there. They don't want to see anyone, Well,
hold that thought. We'll be right back and plug the rest of the show. Observer Live. Welcome to the special tour of Figure 4 Weekly Headquarters, as promised. Today I will be accompanied by my assistant Vincenzo, so let's get moving. Hey, don't worry about it. Today's a special day, I'll drive.
Vince, today's going to be a good day, so let's not F anything up, okay? Now, I'd like to tell everybody, I just want to give a short speech on the way to the compound here today, and that is that we are going through very tough economic times right now. Right, Vince? It's a time of stock market crashing, the yen is devalued, a time of woe and want. And many of you watching this right now, for all I know, are unemployed. But the good thing is, and I always like to look on the bright side, as Vince is well aware, the good news is that for every dark cloud, there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is that Figure 4 Weekly is doing great. It's a huge success right now. Subscriptions are up, quality is down, profit margins are skyrocketing, things are going very well. So the one thing is that I don't want to make it seem like money is everything, because money cannot buy happiness, but what it can buy is enormous houses, and that makes me happy. So we will be going to see my enormous house, the Figure 4 Weekly compound, and that's where we're heading right now.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. The very, very young Mr. Thomas joining us here today. MLW Fightland is coming up on Saturday in Atlanta, center stage, MLWLive.com. It's free, and you can see Kojima and Mads Kruger and the Beaumaye Fight Club and the Andersons and Dijak and Timothy Thatcher and Bad Dude Tito versus Mystico and so much more. And floor is yours, my friend. What do you got coming up? Did we lose him? There he is. Sorry. Go ahead.
If you're around Atlanta on Saturday, definitely check it out. We have a couple undercards that are looking good. Matt Riddle takes on Tom Lawler. We have the debut of Kevin Knight from New Japan. Janai Kai defends her ladies featherweight title. Definitely a lot of cool stuff going on right now. Get your tickets last time, so don't be afraid to click the button in advance, not to look too far into the future, but MLW returns to St. Petersburg on Friday, October 4th. Myself and Alex Kane, the Beaumaye Fight Club, take on Suzuki and Kwan Contra for the tag team titles, and it's the debut of Trevor Lee. So check that out, MLW.com. You can check me out at Mocha Traps. I'm on Instagram and the Twitter or the X Machine. Reach out to me, tell me how much I suck or how much you like us. It's greatly appreciated either way. But support MLW, support Pro Wrestling. Check out Max Smashmaster and Rad Pro Wrestling. I got nothing else to sell today.
My God, what a promoter. Jiminy Christmas. Well, best of luck this weekend. Thanks so much for doing the show. We'll do this again sometime. And
absolutely. When we win the tag titles in a couple weeks, I'll be right back.
All right. It's a deal.
Right.
Thanks again, everybody. We got to wrap it up for today. Thanks, Mike, as always. Callers and listeners, everybody in the studio. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.